Hey, my amazing squaddies! I truly hope you're doing wonderfully well today. Sending you all my love, positivity, and warmest wishes. You mean the world to me. No matter what kind of day you're having, I want you to know you are valued, you are appreciated, and you're exactly where you need to be. Welcome back to Daily Diaries Friday. This community is built on love, support, and positivity, and I'm so grateful that you're a part of it. Let's keep growing together, keep shining, and keep lifting each other up. Remember to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts and insights. Thank you for being the heart of Daily Diaries Friday. Today I have an interesting video, so stay tuned, squaddies, and let's dive in. This entire situation is a disgusting display of hypocrisy, pettiness, and outright cruelty, an embarrassing yet entirely predictable chapter in the ongoing saga of King Charles's relentless vendetta against his own son. 2 years ago, we witnessed the utterly vindictive eviction of Prince Harry and Meghan Sussex from Frogmore Cottage, a property they had rightfully leased and spent millions of their own money to renovate. Their so-called home in the UK was taken from them under the flimsiest of excuses, and the underlying message was clear. Charles didn't just want to punish Harry for daring to tell his own story and spare. He wanted to strip him of any semblance of security, belonging, or connection to his homeland. And what's more, he wanted to ensure that Harry and Meghan would be placed in a position of vulnerability whenever they dared to set foot in Britain. The excuses Buckingham Palace peddled at the time were as laughable as they were infuriating. We were told it was about cost-saving measures because, of course, it simply wouldn't do to have a grand property like Frogmore Cottage sitting vacant. And yet, what happened post-eviction? Did the Windsors rush to fill the space, proving that they simply couldn't afford such an extravagant waste of real estate? No. The cottage sat empty for well over a year, and to this day it's unclear whether anyone has actually moved in. Frogmore became nothing more than a symbol of Charles's petty, spite-driven rule, a glaring reminder that, in his eyes, his own son is less worthy of protection and security than the family's empty houses. And now, in 2025, the same king who couldn't stomach the idea of his son and daughter-in-law having a secure base in the UK has miraculously found the funds to purchase a £3 million property in Wiltshire. And for what noble purpose? To prevent Camilla from being slightly annoyed by the potential presence of a wedding venue next door. That's right. While Charles let his own son be thrown to the wolves, forced to rely on hotels with inadequate security when visiting the UK, he had absolutely no problem dropping millions to ensure his wife wouldn't have to deal with the unbearable horror of hearing wedding guests having fun in her vicinity. The sheer gall of it is breathtaking. We're supposed to believe that this purchase was necessary for Camilla's security and privacy, because obviously her well-being is paramount. Charles and his inner circle wasted no time justifying this move, with royal sources insisting that there was an imperative to act in Camilla's best interest. They even went as far as to claim that a potential buyer might have, used the property for short-term rentals. The horror. Can you imagine a scenario worse than Camilla having to endure the sight of people enjoying themselves just 30 feet away? What makes this even more infuriating is the fact that Camilla already has an entire private residence to retreat to when she needs a break from being queen. Ray Mill, the home she clung to even after marrying Charles, has always been her personal escape. And despite the fact that Charles has countless other estates at his disposal, Highgrove, Clarence House, Sandringham, Balmoral and Buckingham Palace, just to name a few, he saw no issue with spending millions more just to ensure that Camilla's getaway remains completely undisturbed. And let's not forget the absolute audacity of Buckingham Palace trying to spin this purchase as a sound financial investment. Since when has Charles ever cared about appearing financially responsible? This is a man who has spent decades funneling obscene amounts of taxpayer money into maintaining a sprawling collection of castles, palaces and stately homes, most of which he barely even uses. But suddenly, when it comes to securing his wife's peace of mind, spending £3 million in private funds is a completely reasonable and justified move. Meanwhile, Harry, the son who actually served his country, who actually put his life on the line in the military, who actually tried to modernize and strengthen the monarchy, has been effectively exiled. His security was stripped away, his home was taken, and his father couldn't even be bothered to ensure that he had a safe place to stay when visiting the UK. The stark contrast between how Charles treats his wife versus his own flesh and blood is truly appalling. And the excuses about Camilla'S security are particularly rich when you consider what Harry has been through. Here's a man who has been the target of actual security threats, who has faced documented risks from extremists, who has been relentlessly hounded by the British press, who has had his family's safety jeopardized time and time again. And yet Charles refused to provide him with police protection. He fought tooth and nail to block Harry from paying for his own security. He gleefully evicted him from the one place in the UK that offered any level of safety and stability. But when it comes to Camilla, suddenly security is a top priority. Suddenly Charles is willing to do whatever it takes to protect his wife from the horrors of having to hear people celebrating weddings nearby. It's grotesque. And let's talk about the fact that Charles had to do this because Camilla has apparently been locked in a petty feud with her neighbour for years. This woman, who spent decades as the most notorious mistress in British history, now expects complete and total control over her surroundings. She couldn't tolerate the thought of a property being turned into a wedding venue, so Charles caved and bought it just to placate her. The King of England, a man in his mid-70s, is still bending over backward to please the woman he spent years sneaking around with behind his first wife's back. It's actually pathetic when you think about it. Charles was so determined to get rid of Harry and Meghan that he threw them out of a home they had legally secured and financially invested in. But when Camilla starts whining about a neighbour she doesn't like, suddenly there's no limit to what he's willing to do to make her comfortable. It's beyond disgraceful. It's a glaring testament to Charles's utter failure as a father. At this point, there's no defending it. Charles has made it abundantly clear that his priorities lie solely with Camilla, his son, his grandchildren, his own flesh and blood. They're expendable. But Camilla's convenience, that's priceless. It's one of the most disgusting, shameless, and morally bankrupt moves we've seen from this monarchy in years. And that's saying something. And that's a wrap, squaddies. Thanks for watching and being part of this amazing journey. You're the reason this community shines. Keep being the incredible, inspiring souls you are. If you enjoyed today's journey, show some love with a like, comment, and share. Join our family by subscribing, and let's keep growing together. Until next time, dream big, stay strong, and keep shining.